Now, allow me to also comment about one of the books that first drew me toward India and to its deep history of philosophical and spiritual traditions. The book is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I first read most of Hesse's major work as a teenager, but then reread them again through the years. It first found me, Siddhartha, when I was immersed in a very different kind of literature of Dostoevsky, Camus, Kafka, Orwell, Hemingway, Kerouac, Steinbeck, and so on. Many of these explore the same human condition that puzzled me when I was a young man and still puzzles me today, even more so. But Siddhartha was my introduction to the Eastern way of looking at these puzzles. It was written by Hermann Hesse. And by the way, please allow me this pronunciation of his last name. I've heard some people say Hesse, but my whole life I've always said Hesse. So anyway, it was written by Hermann Hesse, a German-Swiss Nobel Prize winning writer, during one of the darkest periods of his own life. His marriage was failing, World War I had shattered his pacifist ideals, and he suffered from debilitating headaches, insomnia, and depression. During this period, he began psychoanalysis with Carl Jung, which in part led him to explore Eastern philosophies as a way to heal his fractured psyche. Hesse immersed himself in translations of ancient Hindu and Buddhist texts, studying the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. And so, the writing of Siddhartha was in itself, for him, a journey that paralleled that of the main character in the book. Hesse started writing the book in 1919 and finished 3 years later, experiencing an extensive psychological crisis in the middle. The book follows Siddhartha, a young man in ancient India, as he leaves behind wealth and comfort to search for meaning. You can feel his personal struggle in every page, Siddhartha's restlessness, his dissatisfaction with conventional wisdom, his need to find truth through direct experience. Again, the book wasn't simply a philosophical exploration for Hesse. It was psychological survival. He was writing his way out of suffering and towards his own enlightenment. I won't go into a deep analysis of the book here, but I will mention 2 key lessons I took away and carried with me to this day. First lesson comes from the scene in the book that, to me, is one of the great scenes in all of literature. Siddhartha is sitting by a river, just listening. And in that river, he hears all of life, all sounds, all voices, all of time, past, present, future, flowing together as one. That scene gave me the experience and the notion that while in some grounded human sense, the linear arrow of time does exist, in another sense, time is a kind of illusion, that in fact, everything exists simultaneously, that our lives are both momentary and eternal. It is hard to describe these ideas with words. I think they must be experienced as personal revelations. I'm reminded of the fish story that David Foster Wallace, another one of my favorite writers, described in a commencement speech 20 years ago. The story goes, 2 young fish are swimming along when they encounter an older fish swimming the opposite way. The older fish nods and says, "Morning, boys. How's the water?" The young fish swim on, and eventually one turns to the other and asks, "What the hell is water?" The illusion of the forward progress of time is water in this metaphor. As humans, we're fully immersed in it. But enlightenment, in part, involves being able to step back and get a glimpse at another deeper perspective on reality, where all things are inextricably interconnected across both time and space. Another key lesson from the novel that was especially formative to me as a young man was that one should not blindly follow others or learn about the world exclusively through books, but rather forge your own path and thrust yourself into the world where the lessons of life can only be learned by experiencing them directly. And every experience, both positive and negative, mistakes, suffering, and even seemingly wasted time, is all an essential part of growth. To this point, Hesse draws a distinction between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge can be taught by others. Wisdom can only be gathered through experiencing the full mess of life yourself. In other words, the path to understanding isn't through rejection of the world, but through complete immersion in it. Those are my early steps in seeing the world through the lens of Eastern philosophy, but many of Hesse's books had an impact on me. I would recommend to read Damien when you are younger, Steppenwolf when you are older, Siddhartha throughout your life, especially in moments of crisis, and The Glass-Bead Game if you want to take on Hesse's magnum opus that rigorously explores the ways the human mind and human civilization can engage in the pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, and meaning. But Siddhartha is the only one I've returned to more than twice. In my own life, when faced with a difficult situation, I often return to the moment in the book when Siddhartha is asked what skills he possesses. And his answer is simply, I can think, I can wait, I can fast. Let me elaborate. Indeed, for the first part, I can think. As Marcus Aurelius said, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts. For the second part, I can wait. Patience and waiting often is indeed the optimal decision when facing a problem. Time does bring clarity and depth of understanding. For the third part, I can fast. When needed, being able to live and flourish with less is a prerequisite of being free, when the mind, the body, and society all are trying to put you in cages. All right, friends. Now, sadly, our time together in this episode has come to a close. As always, thank you for being here, and thank you for your support through the years. Let me leave you with a few words from the Bhagavad Gita. He who experiences the unity of life sees his own self in all beings, and all beings in his own self, and looks onto everything with an impartial eye. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you next time.